2020 has been a crazy year, and political tensions are high as we near the November 3rd election. We are all experiencing a new normal, and it is affecting many parts of our lives, including voting. The Cobb County Public Library is very happy to have Janine Eveler, Director of Elections and Registration, to answer some questions for first-time voters and to clear up some unknowns during this difficult time. As you know, we are making this video to highlight National Voter Registration Day. When is the last day to register for the upcoming election?
So the last day to register is always about 30 days prior to each election. So in this case, with the November 3rd election, the last day to register is October 5th.
The library is offering several registration drives. Are there any other places you know of that people could go in person to register? And when they do that, what do they need to bring?
Okay, so they can register online, and as long as they have a driver's license or state issued ID card from the DDS, then it'll go through automatically. But they can also register in person, as you said, at the libraries, and they can do that at our office on Whitlock Avenue in Marietta. And there's also city halls have applications, and they can get, probably there's lots of groups that are doing voter registration drives these days, and so they might be able to find somebody that's just out giving out voter registration applications.
What would you like to tell first-time voters? Like, what age do they need to be and what should they bring?
So to register to vote, you can be 17 and a half as long as you'll be 18 by the election that the next election that you're going to vote in. And you become an active registered voter at 18. And then when you come to vote your first time, all voters actually need to bring a photo ID. And photo IDs have to be state issued, so state or county or some subdivision of government. So a high school ID is not acceptable.
In Georgia, do you have to declare a party when you register to vote?
In Georgia, we have open primaries, so you don't register as a party member, but when you go to a primary, you select at each primary which party ballot you want. So you could do one party one time, another party another time, but if there's a runoff, you have to get the same party that you chose the first time.
Absentee and mail-in ballots have been in the news a lot lately. What is the difference between an absentee and mail-in ballot? And what is the best way to turn those in?
That's a couple of questions. In Georgia, there's no difference because every voter that votes by mail has to apply for that ballot. So in some states, they are automatically sending out a mailed ballot to every voter, or even if they are going to vote in person, they'll still get their mail ballot. But I don't really have that much information about that because we don't do that in Georgia. In Georgia, you have to apply for a mailed ballot. So we recommend that anybody that wants to vote by mail, that they do so, they apply for it as soon as possible so that they will get in the queue of processing those ballots. Now they can return it by obviously postal mail with putting a stamp on it. And then we also have drop boxes. Right now we have 10 installed, and we're going to get up to 16 hopefully by election day.
Can you tell us a little more about the ballot drop boxes?
Yes, in June we had 4, and now we have 10, and we have 6 more that we've purchased, and we're just looking for the proper places to put them because we have to also install video surveillance cameras that can hold enough data for 45 days when they're open. And all of the drop boxes will be locked at 7 p.m. on election night, so they can be dropped off even on election day all the way up until 7 p.m.
When do they count the absentee ballots, and how do I know if mine was counted?
So in other states have different rules, and some people have come here from other states, and so they always ask that question. But here in Georgia, we have to count every ballot. Every absentee ballot is counted, and the election's not certified until every ballot is counted. So in the past, when we didn't have such a high response of absentee ballots, we counted them all election night, and we were here until 4 in the morning sometimes counting them. But now that there's such a huge number with the pandemic, we have, stopped, and then we'll continue on over several days after that. And also now that drop boxes can accept them up until election night, there's more that are turned in at the last minute.
How do I track the status of my absentee ballot?
So the My Voter page has a way that you can track the process of your absentee by mail application. And so it'll say your application's been received. It'll then say that your ballot has been issued. And then once you turn your ballot back in, it'll say that it's been accepted and received. So if you have submitted an application, maybe it's been a couple of weeks and you don't see that there has been an application received, you can call our office and we can see if we processed that day's worth yet, and then we can give you a status. But it probably takes, at least right now, we're about 9 days behind. So we're staffing up again, and we're going to hopefully get within a 3-day turnaround time.
What are the plans for keeping people safe and comfortable voting during COVID?
Well, one of the things we would want to request is that if you're going to vote in person, please wear a mask. We can't require it, but we would ask that everybody do that to be safe and to keep our workers safe. And then we will be giving out styluses that people can use that we're cleaning between each voter, and they can use that instead of touching the machines. We'll have tissues on hand to grab the card with if they choose to do it that way, or to hold the stylus. And then we have cleaning solution and sanitizing solutions that we're cleaning things with, and keeping people as distant as possible. However, because this is a general election, the in-person voting will have to have lots of machines, so there won't be the opportunity to space things out 6 feet apart. So voters should be aware that if they're going to vote in person, they will probably be closer than 6 feet from the voter next to them.
I know there is concern over not having enough election workers over the upcoming election. What are the requirements and compensation for that position, and where can people who are interested apply?
Compensation is listed in a little bit more detail than probably we can go into here on our website at cobbelections.org. People can apply there at that location, but the starting pay for a clerk is $150 for election day. They also get paid for their training and for setting up the Monday before. We are getting a really good response from various groups that are recruiting for us, and so we actually haven't been able to get through all of the lists of people that have been applying, but we accept applications all year long, and if we can't use you for one election, we'll call you for the next election. We have a database of people who are interested, and then sometimes somebody's not available one day or one election, and we move down the list. So don't get discouraged if you don't get a call, and we could probably use you in another capacity as well. We're also looking at perhaps having people be technicians, or to help with the ballot drop box collections. So, please keep applying. We can use the interest.
I've done early voting in the past. When does early voting start, and how many locations do they have in Cobb County?
Early voting starts on October 12th and will run for 3 weeks. We here in Cobb County, we do Saturday voting as well. So we'll have 5 days a week, and then there's 2 Saturdays. Our voting hours are going to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day. Saturdays are a little bit shorter, but not too much. And there's going to be 9 locations open for the entire 3 weeks, and then 3 additional locations that were available only for 1 or 2 weeks, but they'll be added in as we go forward.
How do people find out where they're supposed to vote for early voting?
Well, interestingly, you can vote in any early voting location, whatever one has the shortest line, or is closest to your work, or closest to your home, whatever is convenient. So one thing to keep in mind is, all the locations are on our website, and the hours and the days, and we will be having wait times that are listed out there. So as we start early voting, if you're looking for which one has the shortest line and you can travel 20 minutes, then that might be a better option.
Many people have moved recently or even moved in from out of state. Where should they go to either update their information or find out if they're still registered to vote?
Okay, one of the best tools that the state of Georgia has implemented in the last few years is the My Voter page. And that is, or we call it MVP. And that is a place that's your window to your voter registration. You can see everything that we have on file for you. And we have done a lot of precinct changes, polling location changes in the last year or year and a half. So it's very important for if you're going to vote on election day, especially, that you check your My Voter page to see what your polling location is. And just check before the voter registration deadline of October 5th to make sure that your record is correct and it has the right address. Because if you vote in a place that you don't live, then you're going to be voting for people that don't represent you. So you want to make sure your address is correct for where you live.
If I want a copy of my voter registration card, can I print it from my voter page?
Yes, you can actually print your precinct card, is what we call it, from the My Voter page. So you will, if you move to another location and you change your record on your My Voter, your voter registration record, we send you a new precinct card. Or if we change your polling location, we send you a new precinct card. But you can print your precinct card anytime you want from the My Voter page.
What is a provisional ballot, and does everybody have access to one at a polling place?
Well, you shouldn't need to use one at all. This provisional ballot is for situations where something's wrong where you can't vote a regular ballot. So if you arrive and you aren't on the list for that precinct, or if you've forgotten your photo ID, you can do a provisional ballot. And in the case of photo ID, send us a copy of your ID within the next 3 days, and then we would count that. In the case of if you're not on the list, maybe your voter registration didn't get updated, there could have been a clerical error, and we want to make sure we get your vote in a provisional ballot and then do the research later to find out if there was an error or something and you really should have been in that precinct. So it's really what we call our safety net, that any errors that were made or anything like that, we can get your ballot and have it safely in a sealed envelope so that we can count it if we figure out that you really should have been registered there.
How would I know if I've been taken off the voter roll?
Well, again, you should be checking on the My Voter page and do that before October 5th, because if you have been removed from the voter roll, you can re-register. That process is for people who haven't been active for voting in 7 or 8 years. If they've moved and we've sent them something to an old address and it's been returned, they'll go on an inactive list at that time. So if those kind of situations have happened in your life, it's good to check ahead of time so that you know that your registration is correct.
What should I do if I am vision impaired?
So voters that vote in person, there is an assistive device that is attached to the voting system that for visually impaired voters, they can have an audio ballot. And so when they check in with the first station, when they check in with the check-in person, they'd ask for an audio ballot, and the card is programmed to then have the device start working. And the ballot is read to them, and then they can make their selections on the handheld device.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today. Would you like to give any advice to voters for the upcoming election?
Okay, so what I would just like to add is that I would want people to be intentional about voting and to make a plan for how they want to vote, because we do have 3 ways that we've offered for voters to cast their ballot. They can ask for an absentee ballot, they can vote early in person, or they can vote on election day. But choose which method you want to use and plan for the day that you want to do that. If you're going to apply for an absentee ballot, get your application in early. The people that have issues are usually the ones that are waiting to the last minute to apply, or they're waiting until election day and they haven't checked where they need to go. So, voting is a privilege and it's a right, and we want everybody's vote to count, but we need everybody to participate in a way that is the best for everybody to get their ballot in. And so that would be my advice, that they be intentional and make a plan and decide what they want to do and then put it in, get their plan together now.
Please visit the links below for more information.